Welcome to Grandma's Tales. I am so glad you are here with me today. Put away your toys, find your favorite blanket, and get very, very cozy. Today, I have a special story for you about a little friend made of ginger and spice. It is a story about running, but also about learning when to stop and listen. Close your eyes now, and let's go to a little cottage at the edge of a golden wheat field. Deep in the heart of a quiet valley, where the wind whispers through the willow trees and the brook sings a silver song, there stood a small cottage. This cottage had a roof made of thick, sun-dried straw and walls the colour of toasted oats. It was a place where time seemed to move more slowly, and where the air always smelled of wood smoke and dried lavender. Inside this cottage lived a kind old lady and a kind old man. They had lived there for many, many years, tending to their small garden and watching the clouds drift lazily across the vast blue sky. The old lady was known for her kitchen, which was the heart of their home. It was a warm place, with copper pots hanging from the walls and a large, heavy table made of oak that had seen 1,000 meals. One afternoon, when the rain was pattering softly on the window pane, a gentle, rhythmic sound that made everything feel even more tucked in and safe, the old lady decided it was a perfect day for baking. She pulled out her large wooden bowl, the one with the smooth, worn edges, and began to gather her ingredients with great care. She believed that baking was a form of magic, and that a peaceful heart was the most important ingredient of all. She measured out the flour, which was as white and soft as a summer cloud. She added a pinch of salt and a large spoonful of dark, rich molasses that looked like liquid silk as it swirled into the bowl. Then came the ginger, the most important part. It was a warm, fragrant spice that immediately made the whole kitchen feel like a giant, comfortable hug. She added cinnamon and cloves, and as she stirred the thick dough, she sang a low, humming tune. The old man sat in his rocking chair by the fire, his eyes closed, nodding his head to the rhythm of her song. They were very happy in their quiet life, but sometimes, when the evening shadows grew long, they wished for a little more life and laughter in their silent home. When the dough was firm and smooth, the old lady rolled it out on her floured table. She decided to make something she had never made before, a little man. She worked slowly, shaping his torso, his 2 sturdy legs for walking, and 2 little arms for waving. For his eyes, she searched through her jar of dried fruits and chose 2 plump, dark raisins that looked like tiny, twinkling stars. For his mouth, she used a tiny sliver of lemon peel, curved into a permanent, gentle smile. Finally, she gave him 3 little buttons down his chest, made of sweet, rose-pink icing. He was the most handsome gingerbread man she had ever seen, and she felt a surge of pride as she looked at him. She placed him carefully on a greased baking tray and slid him into the warm, glowing oven. The kitchen soon began to fill with a scent so wonderful it could make anyone feel at home. It smelled of holidays, of cozy blankets, and of sweet, hidden surprises. The old lady and the old man waited together, sitting side by side, listening to the wood in the fireplace pop and crackle. They talked about their garden and the birds that visited their feeder, unaware that the little man in the oven was listening to every word, and that his little ginger heart was starting to beat with a magic of its own. Suddenly, a tiny sound came from behind the oven door. A little tap, 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 like a bird pecking at a window. The old lady stood up, her eyes wide with surprise. She opened the oven door just a crack, and to her amazement, out hopped the gingerbread man. He didn't look like a cookie anymore. He moved with the grace of a little dancer, light and nimble. He skipped across the kitchen floor, his icing buttons shining in the firelight like jewels. The old man reached out his hands to catch him, hoping to keep this little miracle in their home. But the little man was far too quick. He giggled, a sound like silver bells ringing in the wind, and ran straight out the open door, past the sleeping cat, and into the wide green garden. The garden was a world of wonders. The grass was tall and soft, and the flowers were just beginning to close their petals for the night. The gingerbread man felt the cool earth beneath his feet and the fresh evening air on his face for the very first time. He was so excited to be alive, so full of energy, that he didn't want to stop for even a second. He ran past the vegetable patch where the pumpkins were growing round and orange. He ran past the old stone well where the moss grew thick and green. The old lady and the old man followed him as fast as they could, their hearts thumping, calling out for him to wait, to come back to the warmth of the kitchen. But the little man was caught up in the magic of his own speed. He turned his head, his raisin eyes sparkling, and sang out his song in a voice that was soft and sweet, like a lullaby. Run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. He reached the edge of the great wheat field, where the stalks were tall and golden, waving in the evening breeze like a sea of honey. As he ran along the narrow dirt path, he encountered a big, gentle cow. The cow was chewing slowly on a patch of sweet clover and looked at the little man with large, dark, curious eyes. The cow mooed softly, a low and grounding sound, asking the gingerbread man where he was going in such a great hurry when the stars were about to come out. But the little man just laughed, his little legs moving like a blur. He told the cow that he had run away from the old lady and the old man, and he could certainly run away from a big, slow cow too. The cow watched him go, shaking her head slowly, wondering why anyone would want to run away from such a beautiful, peaceful place. A little further down the path, near a cluster of ancient oak trees whose branches reached up like long fingers towards the sky, he met a sheep. The sheep had a coat of wool so thick and white it looked like a fallen cloud. She was resting near a hedge, her ears twitching at every sound. She called out to the gingerbread man, her voice soft and shaky, telling him that the path ahead was long and that he should stay a while to rest his feet. But the gingerbread man felt invincible. He felt as though he could run forever, all the way to the edge of the world. He sang his song again, his voice echoing through the quiet woods, and the sheep sighed, settling back into the grass as the little man disappeared into the twilight. The path led him deeper into the valley, past a stable where a horse was resting. The horse was strong and tall, with a coat as dark as midnight, and eyes that seemed to hold a lot of wisdom. He flicked his mane as the gingerbread man scurried by, his tiny footsteps making a patter-patter sound on the dry leaves. The horse wondered why such a small creature was in such a rush to leave behind the safety of the farms and fields. Again, the gingerbread man sang his song. He felt very proud, thinking that speed was the only thing that mattered. He didn't realize that the world is much larger than a kitchen or a garden, and that even the fastest legs eventually grow tired when the road becomes steep and the night grows cold. The sun had now dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a sky of deep violet and soft indigo. The shadows grew long and heavy, stretching across the path like quiet, friendly giants. The air grew cooler, and the scent of the damp earth became stronger. Finally, the gingerbread man reached a place where the path simply ended. Before him lay a wide, deep river. The water was dark and moved with a heavy, steady rhythm, making a sound like swish, wash, swish against the muddy banks. The little man stopped. He looked at his ginger hands and his ginger feet. He knew that he was made of sugar and spice and flour, and if he stepped into the cold, moving water, he would become soft and crumble away until there was nothing left of him. He looked to the left, and he looked to the right, but there was no bridge to be seen, and the river was far too wide to jump. That was when he noticed a shadow moving near a pile of mossy stones. It was a fox. The fox had fur the colour of autumn leaves and a tail with a beautiful white tip. He didn't growl, and he didn't move toward the gingerbread man. He stayed perfectly still, his eyes reflecting the first few stars of the night. When he spoke, his voice was as smooth as silk and as warm as a summer evening. The fox told the little man that he had been watching him run, and that he was very impressed by his speed. But, the fox added, even the fastest runner needs a way across the water. He offered to help, saying he had no wish to catch the little man, but only to see him safely to the other side, where the meadows were even greener and the flowers stayed open all night. The gingerbread man was hesitant, but the fox's eyes were calm and steady, like the eyes of a grandmother who knows many secrets. He didn't look hungry. He looked like someone who enjoyed a good story and a quiet walk. After a moment of thought, the gingerbread man climbed onto the fox's thick, bushy tail. As they entered the water, the fox began to swim with long, easy strokes. The water was cold and dark, but the gingerbread man felt safe and high above the ripples. He watched the reflection of the moon dancing on the surface of the river and felt a sense of peace he hadn't known while he was running. As they reached the middle of the river, where the water was deepest and the current was at its strongest, the fox spoke again. He suggested that the gingerbread man move up to his back so his feet wouldn't get wet. A moment later, he suggested moving to his neck, and finally, right onto the very tip of his black, wet nose. The gingerbread man did as he was told, trusting the fox completely. He felt like the king of the forest, perched so high, looking out at the far bank. He thought about how far he had come from the little kitchen, and how clever he was to have found such a helpful companion. He was so caught up in his own success that he almost forgot to be careful. But as the fox's paws touched the soft sand of the opposite bank, something unexpected happened. The fox didn't toss the gingerbread man into the air. He didn't open his mouth to eat him. Instead, he walked slowly onto the soft grass, well away from the water, and lowered his head very gently. He waited until the gingerbread man hopped down safely onto a bed of soft, emerald green moss. The fox looked at him with a knowing smile and said that while being fast is a wonderful thing, knowing when to trust someone and how to say thank you is what truly makes a person wise. The gingerbread man looked back across the wide river. In the distance, he could see the lanterns of the old lady and the old man, who were still standing on the other bank, watching over him. He realized then that he didn't need to run anymore. He didn't need to prove how fast he was. He invited the fox to sit with him under the light of the full moon. They spent the night talking about the magic of the forest and the sweetness of the ginger fields. The gingerbread man realized that the world was not a place to run through, but a place to live in, and that every step should be taken with care and gratitude. He promised that he would always be a friend to the animals of the valley, and that he would never forget the kindness of the fox who had helped him find his way. And so, the gingerbread man lived a long and happy life in the heart of the forest, where the air is always sweet and the stars always shine bright. He learned that the most important journey isn't about how fast your legs can carry you, but about the love you carry in your heart and the friends you make along the way. He was no longer a runaway, but a cherished part of the woods, a tiny friend to every creature great and small. The end. For more audiobooks for preschoolers or 3-year-olds, stay on our channel. Your little eyes are getting very heavy now, and the world is quiet and still. Sleep well, little one, and dream of sweet adventures. Good night.